In this lecture, we'll learn how to use typography. We can use some basic styling for headings, paragraphs, block quotes, lists, and more. You can use heading elements from H1 to H6 as you wish, but you can also use the related class names H1 to H6 to get the same visual style independent on the semantics of your code. To see this demonstrated, we'll create a list of all the available native heading elements. Now we'll duplicate these headings and add the class names from H1 to H6 in the opposite order. In the browser, we can now see the two semantically identical lists of headings, but with an opposite styling. Let's remove our second list of headings. We can add secondary headings to a heading element by using the small tag. Let's do this for all the heading elements. In the browser, we can now see the secondary headings appearing with a smaller font size and thinner font weight. The last type of available headings that you can use with Bootstrap is display headings. These are used when you really want a heading to stand out. Independent of what heading tag you use, these will make the font size larger and the font weight thinner. Let's remove our small tags and the H5 and H6 heading elements. Now we will add the classes display1, display2, display3 and display4 to the remaining 4 heading elements. In the browser, we can now see how these display headings really stand out. That was all for heading elements. Now let's continue to look at paragraphs. If you want a paragraph to stand out, you can turn it into a lead paragraph by adding the class lead. Let's delete all of our heading code and create a basic paragraph with some lorem ipsum text. We'll copy it and add the class lead to the first paragraph so that we can see the difference. In the browser, we can now see that our first paragraph have a larger font size and thinner font weight. To see the various kinds of inline elements, we'll just delete the current code and create some example paragraphs. To mark up highlighted text, we use the mark tag. To mark up deleted text, we use the del tag. To mark up incorrect text, we use the S tag. To mark up inserted text, we use the ins tag. To mark up underlined text, we use the U tag. To mark up fine print, we use the small tag. To mark up strong text, we use the strong tag. To mark up emphasized text, we use the M tag. To mark up bold text, we use the B tag. To mark up an alternate voice or technical term, we use the I tag. Let's see how these look in the browser. From this list, only Mark and Small have got some added styling from Bootstrap, which we can see over here in the developer console. This is the Mark. And this is the Small. This means that we can also use them with class names. Let's remove all of the examples above except the ones with Mark and Small. Now let's duplicate those and remove the Mark and Small tag and use class names instead. When we take a look in the browser, we can see that the paragraphs look the same. It's only the semantics that's different. The last inline text element we'll take a look at is abbreviations. Let's delete our code and create a paragraph with the text ATTR. To mark up abbreviations, we use the ABBR tag, with the abbreviated text being the value of the title attribute. If we have an abbreviation with initials, we can use the class initialism to transform the text to uppercase and make it appear with a smaller font size. Let's create one more paragraph with the text HTML. Once again, we use the ABBR tag, and the value of our title attribute will be the abbreviated text. Then we just need to add the class initialism. Let's take a look in the browser. When we hover the elements, we can see the value of the title attributes appearing. Let's delete our code and continue to look at block quotes. To quote blocks of content from another source, you can wrap it in the block quote tag with the class block quote. As our content, we'll create a paragraph with some lorem ipsum text. Let's duplicate the code. If we want to mention the source of our block quote, we add a footer tag with the class block quote footer just before the closing block quote tag. We will add the text author name in source title. The name of the source should be put in a side tag with the title attribute having the same value as the text content of the side tag. Let's duplicate the code one more time. If we want to make the block quote and all its content right aligned, we can add the class block quote reverse to the block quote tag. Now let's see these examples in the browser. Finally, let's now take a look at how to structure lists. Let's delete our code and create a basic unordered list with 4 list items inside. The last list item will have another nested unordered list as its content. This list will have 3 items. Let's just add some text to all these list items. To make an unordered list appear without the default styling with bullets, we simply add the class listUnstyled. This also works for ordered lists if we want it to appear without the default styling with numbers. Let's duplicate the code and change the UL tags to OL tags. Now let's have a look in the browser. We can also turn a default list into an inline list. First we'll create a simple unordered list with 3 list items and some text. Now we need to give the parent element the class listInline and the children elements the class listInlineItem. This also works for ordered lists, so we'll duplicate the code and change the UL tags to OL tags. Now let's have another look in the browser. We have now learned how to use typography. Go on and continue with the coding exercises, which will help you learn how to use this kind of content. In the next lecture, we'll learn how to use images.